And then Rahul contacted and we were discussing, and the idea came up like, okay, how do we handle things in the AI world? What has changed? What remains the same? How do you folks get going with this modern world of AI? Before I get started, I wanted to have a quick check with everyone, and you can probably either, Rahul, you can answer this question for on behalf of everyone, or everyone can just type in. Uh, what's the general demography? Are all of you students? Anyone in final year? Anyone in first year? Is there any sort of pattern, or how exactly is the composition of this group? Okay. Okay. All right. So, especially for first year and second year students, there are going to be some things which are good that you are becoming aware of them now, but there are also going to be things that you have no clue what I'm talking about, and just let it be. Just note that down. In future, you would come and understand, okay, why Anant said what he said, right? Okay, so let's get started with this. So I generally start with this whole idea about what do we want in life? And generally it boils down to one of these things. You either want a lot of money, you either want a lot of fame. Some of you would crave for stability, like 9 to 5, I want to do job. And then from 5 p.m. till 9 a.m. in the morning, it's the time for family and friends. Some of you would be like, I don't care about the job angle of it. I am here for curiosity. Whatever, whatever pick you want to pick, there are things that you have to do to reach any of these levels. So today we are going to talk about those. There are a couple of things that I wanted to clarify before we get started with what is there in information security. One, which is a very fundamental difference: information security is not hacking. And I'll talk about it more throughout the slide deck. But hacking as a keyword is something else. Information security is something else. Just understand these two are not the same. Now, the important thing is, be it hacking, be it infosec, AI is helping you everywhere. It's making your life easy. It's making your life harder. It's both ways. Now, what is infosec? Infosec is a field where we're focusing on protecting the information security. Now, if you want to define it in absolute layman terms, keep the bad guys out, let the trusted ones in, give trusted people access to what they are authorized to access when they need the access. So they should not be able to access everything every time, even if they are authenticated or trusted. But at the same time, they should have access to the knowledge or information when they want to access it, when they're supposed to have access to it. This is key. And this defines, so later on, I'll talk about CA. This is the core principle set, which comes down to CIA triad. Now, two keywords. So I said about hacker earlier that hacker is not infosec. Similarly, hacker is not adversary. And these distinctions are very important. Hacker, in classic definition, is a person or an individual who is curious about what is going on inside the environment. Now, this curiosity could lead to questions, could lead to exploration, could end up in a scenario where the individual is able to make the system do something that the system was not designed to do. And that's all there is. So if the system was always supposed to turn left, and I am able to make the system turn right by whatever means, I am trying to do something which the system was not supposed to do. If I'm able to do it, I am looking at hacking. I'm trying to hack the system. Now, compare it with adversary, which is what you would encounter as the current definition of hacker. Adversary is someone who has a very specific goal in mind. There is a mission around that. And that mission is accompanied with access to resources. Now, what does an adversary look like? So Consider two nations are at war, one nation attacking other nation's resources. So one nation becomes an adversary to the other nation. Two corporates in corporate war attacking each other. That's an adversarial mindset. Uh, a group of people who does not align with whatever the other party is trying to say. So ideological differences could lead to adversarial attacks. In those scenarios, there's a reason, there's a mission, there's an objective, and the objective and the mission is generally in the negative sense. That's where the adversary keyword comes into picture. Now, at InfoSec, your job is to protect the data. Now, when you're trying to protect, on one side, there are going to be determined people who are trying to attack and gain access to your data. On the other side, you will also have curious people who will be like, okay, uh, it says I can only buy for 1 rupees. What if I try to buy for -1 rupees? Would I get 1 rupee back into my account? There may not be an actual negative thought in mind. There may just be natural curiosity. And as InfoSec professionals, you'll deal with both of them. And as an InfoSec professional, you need to understand both mindsets. Not just understand it, when needed, you have to apply both mindsets, right? Now, when it comes to AI, you'll hear a lot of keywords. You'll hear a lot of stuff happening. You'll hear LLM, which is large language model. You'll hear SLM, which is small language model. You will RAG, there is vibe coding, there are agents, there is every 2 3 days there would be some new random keyword that will be invented because it's an exponentially growing field right now. Now there is a lot of hype. Everyone is claiming my model is the best, my approach is the best, this service is what you should be using. Oh, don't use this service, this was obsoleted yesterday, use mine, mine is better than everyone else. Everyone is experimenting. And that's one of the key things that you have to understand. Right now, AI world is about experimentation. Everyone is trying to do experiments, trying to figure out what is going on and how these tool sets that we suddenly have access to can be leveraged and used in the world. Right? Now, InfoSec with AI in picture, what has not changed? We still need to protect data. We still need to manage risk. We still need to worry about access restrictions. What has changed? Earlier, if I wanted to do something, there was a cost involved in terms of time lost. So if I'm trying to build a website, I would have to spend time in trying to design it, or I would have to hire someone who's going to design that site for me. And because it's a long process, there's too much time involved, I would end up in a scenario where I am basically uh, looking out and trying to make the best of the time that I've spent. So I would want perfection. I would want efficiency. Now what happens is with AI, I can go to ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these LLM models, and I can say, hey, help me design this website with these features. Enter. And then I don't have to do anything. The system does bunch of things and gives me a website, fully prepared website. Because there is speed, I don't care if it is not 100% of my choice. If there are errors, I'll deal with them. If there is 80% done, I am okay with it because I don't have to spend that much time. Now, because of this change, the efficiency is gone, but the speed has improved. So people are able to create stuff faster. When they're able to create stuff faster, they're able to attack stuff faster also. So on one side, development speed has increased. On the other side, attack speed has increased. Now, because of this, people are creating things, they have no idea what they're doing, but they're creating things. Those created things are getting attacked by automated system, autonomous systems, and these systems are just trying to gain access to wherever they can. So both sides of the equation is getting an exponential growth because of AI in picture. Now, generally what I've heard from students and even from professionals, these are the 4 questions that I think comes into everyone's mind. How do I survive this new era? How do I adapt AI safely? What cautions should I keep in mind? Do I still need to learn coding? Because I can ask AI to do everything for me. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of things, and then we'll come back to these four questions, and we'll revisit if we have answered these questions or not. Right? So to start with, there are some core skills that I personally believe everyone should have if you are trying to succeed in the digital era. Now, what are those? One, variable speed reading. Two, typing speed. Three, sustained focus. Four, critical thinking, problem solving, and troubleshooting. What I mean by these four: if you are able to read stuff faster, you are able to understand things faster, you're able to get through more material. Now, here, the fun distinction that I generally give to everyone: you should not be needing more than a day to finish a Chetan Bhagat's novel. That content is made to be consumed as fast as you can. And Chetan Bhagat, for that matter, could be any rom-com novel writer, any novel where the whole idea is to give you sort of a mental stimulation and pleasure in that aspect, should be consumed as fast as you can. But at the same hand, if you're reading a exploration book, if you're reading, say, Stephen Hawking's book, and you're trying to read it as a novel, and you're going through it in a day, you're not going to retain anything that was covered in that. You're reading a philosophical book and you are just churning out pages after pages. That is not going to be helpful. So you need to understand where you want to slow down, where you want to speed up your reading pace. And that's what I mean when I say variable speed reading. Now, typing speed, I have found this in large number of people, even with 10 years experience, 20 years experience, they lack in their capability to express their thoughts in written format. Most of my generation had bad experience writing things with their hands. And I am assuming with your generation that has progressed. Most of you are of the generation where you have mobile phones with you, where you have electronic devices more accessible than pen and paper. So you're adapted in typing things out. But if you are not able to type it out at the speed at which your brain is thinking, then you're actually losing that time frame. You need to try and reach a point where whatever your brain thinks, you're able to type it out as and when it is coming in your mind. If you need a time delay there, that limits your capabilities. Sustained focus is a problem that I've seen with most generations, including my generation now. We are limited to maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds focus. An example of it would be half of you would have lost already what I'm talking about here because I am on this slide for about a minute or so. So that is a skill that you'll have to develop if you want to go far. Why? We'll come to that in some time. The ability to understand what is going on in the system and be able to troubleshoot things is one of the core skills. Why it matters? One, you will encounter in your entire life, you will encounter things that don't work. When they don't work, how do you deal with them? You can't just go and say, hey, the website is not working or this application is not working, let me rebuild it. You can't keep doing that every single time. You need to have the patience, and then you need to follow a systematic process to reach a point where you are able to understand what the core problem is. Once you've solved that problem, you should be capable enough to automate the solution for it. Now, throughout the slide deck, you'll find these refer sections, and I'll share the slide deck with all of you. Most of these refer sections are referring to blog posts that I've written. Whatever I'm saying in like 1 or 2 minutes of my time here is in written format, a 5 minute or a 10-minute blog that you can go through and systematically read through, right? So troubleshooting is another skill that you need to develop. Now, another thing about computing world that you have to understand, it's a world which follows a pattern. Just like everything else in the world, everything is unique, just like everyone else. So cycles in computing also happen. Things appear like it's new, but it's actually the same pattern going on and on and on and on. One new technology comes into the world, everyone wants to use that, everyone runs towards it, and then after a point people realize, okay, it is useful here, it is not useful here, and then a rational thought would come up and a new technology would come up, and that new technology would again start the cycle. Like, for example, centralization and decentralization is a core theme in the blog post that I mentioned here. I looked at a bunch of different examples where centralization was the way everyone was talking about, and then people started figuring out problems in centralization. So they said, okay, let's do decentralization. So another wave of decentralization happened. And then everyone realizes, hey, this is not the way to do. Let's again move back to centralized format. But the names change. Like, we had mainframes, then we had PCs. Mainframes were central bodies that were doing everything. Then we had PCs, which were basically doing everything in your machine. And then we realized, hey, PCs are not sufficient enough. Let's move everything to cloud. So cloud came up. Cloud started doing things. We realized, hey, things are getting done at one place, but it's a bit tricky. So let's move to edge computing. So edge computing came up. Now we have AI. Again, AI has central bodies. There's decentralized options around it. The cycle will keep going on. In my, say, less than 2 decades of experience, I've seen about 3 or 4 different cycles. In your career going forward, maybe 2 decades or 3 decades of your career, you would see probably 6, 7, 8 different cycles happening. What is important is, are you able to adapt and move forward with those cycles? Because the world is going to follow the cycles. You should be able to adapt to it if you want to survive in this ecosystem. Now, this is something that I'm just going to say right now. It may not make a lot of sense for you folks, but just understand or try to note down these points. The way everyone would tell you to grow in the cycle is not to become a single point of failure. They would say, go into the world, figure out one thing that you're able to do the best, and don't let anyone else do it. You be the only source that is doing that thing, and no one is going to fire you. That's how people think the world should operate. Now, what I have observed is, those are the people, if I am a manager, I would identify those people, and those are the people I'm going to fire as soon as I can find their replacement, because I don't want to have dependency on a single person. So single point of failures is what I don't want in the system as a manager. Now, as an employee, what should be your approach towards this? So the approach that I generally suggest, and this comes from a book called Lynchpin by Seth Godin. They very clearly articulated this, and the blog post mentions that book also. Start by becoming indispensable. Start by gaining access to something that only you can do. It could be a technology piece, it could be whatever, but then don't get stuck in it. Become the tip of the spear. Become that one person in your organization everyone turn to when they want to experiment things, because you are the one who can actually go and experiment without getting lost, and you can bring back valuable information which the whole team can then use. You are the person who is a requirement. Become that linchpin. Become that one person that cannot be fired, because if this person is fired, everyone else has no clue what to do, because this person is actually the source of new stuff. They don't hoard anything. They don't say that only I'm going to do, but they are the ones who go in and experiment. They are the ones who come back with new things and teach everyone the new stuff. No one else wants to experiment. This person is experimenting. In career, if you want to grow big, this is the script that you'll have to follow. Gain access to something, become expert in it, make others expert in it, move on. Find something else, become expert in that. And that's the flow you should be following. Now, why do I say this? When you look at the cybersecurity domain, this is a map. I've given a link below. This is version 3 of that map. This map shows you the entirety of cybersecurity domain. There is so many things in there. You cannot in your life finish experimenting with everything. So why stick with just one area when you can actually go and experiment with so many things available? But the key for that is becoming good at one, making others good at that, and then moving forward. Right? Now, in terms of careers, mazes, where should you go, what you should do, there are three modes that I've generally seen people doing. They'll join a startup, join a corporate, become an entrepreneur. All three are valid. What does it means? Startup on one end is going to be a crazy ride. There's going to be so many things happening, too much workload, too many new things happening. You'd have a blast of a time, but it also means that you would be engrossed in it for a very long time frame. 9 to 5 may not be possible if you're on a startup job. That's the ground reality of it. On the other side, corporate world is going to be a smoother ride. You would join in, they would do the induction, they would then tell you, hey, go sit down, in next few days we will arrange something for you, you will have some project, you will work on a project, there'll be 6 months of time frame to understand something and then do some things. Compare it with startup, it'll be, hey, you joined in, good, this is the new project we're working on, join in. And then you'll be allocated a task, you'll have to deal with it. Entrepreneurship is a totally different ballgame altogether. As an entrepreneur, it does not matter what is the requirement. If the requirement is that your office boy is not present and you have to clean the floor, you clean the floor. If the requirement is to go and unclog the, say, sewage line because no one is there to do it, you do it. If the job requires that just after that you have to meet the client, you go and meet the client. Entrepreneurs cannot be defined as a particular set of skills. Entrepreneurship basically means you are from the janitor to the owner, everything. It's your baby, you deal with it all the way. Now, while we are all talking about technology, there is one thing that I would highly recommend everyone to be aware of. And for people in first year, second year, this is your time to get started to understand this. I saw a comment that there are some people who are free. I'm assuming that basically means they're done with their 4 years. Whatever that sphere in life where you are, understand that end of the day, your financial awareness would define your freedom. What do I mean by that? On one side, newer jobs like, let's say, AI and security jobs, they're going to be paying you huge amount of money. If you're skilled in AI, they're going to pay you huge, but it's also going to be volatile. If they find an alternative with a slightly cheaper option, or if they find that their product is not working or they're not able to find the market fit, they'll close the startup. So there's high risk, there's high pay, but that's like the golden handcuffs that you're dealing with. On corporate world, you will have stable pay, there will be benefits, there'll be slower growth, but ultimately there'll be some amount of money that is coming in your hands. If you do not have a habit of dealing with that money in positive manner, if you are living paycheck to paycheck, you will not survive if something happens and your corporate or your startup stops functioning or you stop getting paycheck. So you need to have the mindset in such a manner that as soon as possible you should be covered for a couple of years or a couple of months, at the very least 3 months, with the savings that you have. Now, for this, I am not a financial expert. I've noted down a couple of things here, but I would highly recommend going through this book that I mentioned at the bottom, Let's Talk Money by Monica Halan. There is Psychology of Money, which is by Morgan. I keep forgetting their full name, but the Psychology of Money focuses on money aspects, but is more focused towards the US economy. This book talks about the Indian economy, so I highly recommend this book. Now, important things to keep in mind, which is third and final year, people would have already realized this. First and second years, you'd get to know about this. ESOPs, employee stock options, are going to be something that you'll be bombarded with. Understand, it is not a guaranteed cash. It is a chance to make money if something goes big. But also remember, When you hear newses like the person got 1 CR package, dig deep. About 50% of it would be ESOPs. If that's the case, that's not guaranteed cash that they're making. They're still making 50L, but they're not making 1 CR. And that distinction is important. Why do I want you to have financial awareness? If you are flexible enough, if you're resilient enough to handle 3 months of non-payment, the freedom that it provides you is, in your initial years, you would be bound by some sort of bond. So let's say there's a bond that you have to give a 3 months notice period, or you have to stick around for 1 year, or whatever. There'll be some conditions. If those kind of conditions are there, this money that you have in your pocket gives you that flexibility to say, hey, I'm going to take this chance. For example, out of all the jobs that I've done, there has only been one instance where I've left the job when I had another job in hand. Every single damn time when I've put down my resignation papers, I did not had a job in hand. There were either 1 month notice period, a 2 month notice period, a 3 months notice period, whatever. I have found the job in that time frame because I was sure I am going to find a job, but I did not wanted to continue in that company for a longer time frame because I had that kitty available with me. I was able to move forward with my approach like, okay, I'm going to resign and then figure things out. If nothing goes right, I still have some spare cash available, which will keep me afloat for a while. So that's an important thing that you need. Now, especially for college students, how do you get started? How do you build your profiles? You need to highlight your work around security. Mix AI with it. We'll talk about what those mixing could be. You need to have online presence, blogs, GitHub, talks, whatever. Do that. There's always a topic of certifications that come into picture. It is useful. I'm not denying that. But I'm not going to say that certification is everything. I have hired people who are undergrads. I have hired people who have not finished their college education. I have hired people who had zero certifications. The core skill set is what you need to develop first. If you are trying to get into bigger corporate entities or entities with a very formal process, you may have to do certifications. Do them for the sake of clearing the HR barriers. Any sane interviewer, if they have done enough interviews, understand and know that certification does not mean you have skill set. Certification only confirms that you had that specific capability at that specific time frame and you were lucky enough to find the right answer. Does not tells me about your skill set. So they would still probe you for your skill set, which is why you need to build your fundamentals. If you do not build on your fundamentals, you would not have the capability to deal with anything. What I mean by fundamentals, if you're asking AI to write something, are you aware what is going on inside it? How exactly it is able to do it? It's not that you offload your thinking to AI. And that's what the next part is. AI is not here to become your master. AI is not here to become, give me everything and I'll do everything. No, the way you have to leverage is consider it like any other tool that is available to you. We have calculators available. We don't use calculator to do 1 plus 1. We use calculator to do 256 into 113. I would use calculator for that. Maybe you would not even use calculator for that also. Maybe you'll use it only if there's a complex equation in picture. Use it like a tool when you need it. Amplify your strengths. But the important bit to keep in mind is it also amplifies your weaknesses. If you're unaware of something and you do it, it is going to complement it, amplify it, make it 10 times worse. So you have to keep a human steering wheel or a human in the loop who's actually steering things. Now, where it is helpful, where it is not helpful. You can have drafts from an AI. You can get brainstorming done with AI. You can do exploration done with AI. Mostly when I'm talking AI, we are talking about LLM models here. Use it for creating drafts. Hey, I want to write a letter to XYZ. I want these things. I want these things. Give me a draft. And then use it like an assistant who knows less about the actuality of the things, but it can spew out text for you. Work with it to actually get what you want. You can do brainstorming with it. Give it keywords. The way LLM operates, and it's a very simple way to understand how LLM operates. Consider there was a child who was born inside a library. Now, this child was given access to every single book in the world. They have no idea about languages. But what they have is two skill set. One, they're good with numbers and finding correlations. Two, they're able to convert any squiggly into a text, into a number representation. So they took all of the world's knowledge in terms of every book that was there, converted all of these squigglies, be it in English, be it in Hindi, be it in whatever languages, into a numerical representation, and they identified patterns around them. Now, if you ask it what is, it will look into its own database and it will find, okay, what effectively means 1, 2, 3, 4, is means 4, 5, 6, 8. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4, 5, 6, 8, the next representation that comes after it is, say, 8888. And 8888, let's say, is this. So what is this becomes the next word. And this is kind of how LLMs operate. They give you output one word at a time based on the previous words, and that's kind of how they work. So you can actually use it to your advantage. You can use it for brainstorming and exploration by stuffing keywords in your input. If you do that, you get something which is maybe meaningful, maybe meaning, there may be something with where you can derive meaning out of it. So I recently wrote a blog post about what happens when you're exploring or interacting with LLM. And you have to understand LLM is trying to imitate how brain operates, or rather, this is kind of how our brain operates. We look at random things and then try to piece them together, try to figure out, okay, what could be the next thing. Our output comes out in sentences, our output comes out in actions, in visual images, and a bunch of other ways. Most of the LLM output comes out in text. So it's good in these places. What it is not good at, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me what is the date today? There's a chance it may not be able to give you the right date. Can you tell me, is it going to rain today in your city? It may not have the right data unless it contacts some online service and gets that data. Can you check this system and tell me if it is ISO XYZ compliant? It may not have all of that. I want my system to only do these 5 things, should not do this 10 other things. You don't know. It may end up doing those things because it is not actually a system that can follow some rules. All the rules input that we are providing is effectively keywords in their memory bank, and based on those keywords they're figuring out what the next word could be. Now let's go back to our core skills. Variable speed reading, why that matters in the AI world. You have interacted with AI systems, you give it a keyword, it spews out text after text after text after pages. If you cannot read faster, you cannot consume that data, you cannot make something out of it. Even if, let's say, you pipe that into another agent and say, summarize this for me, there will still be some text that you'll have to read, and summaries are generally going to be condensed. So not just you'll have to read it, you'll have to spend time understanding it. So having the capability to read faster is going to help you. You are going to interact with AI a lot. How do you interact? By typing something in. If you cannot type the thoughts that are coming in your mind in the speed at which they're coming in your mind, you are wasting your own time. So typing speed matters in that manner. If you want to derive good outcome from AI interactions, you will have to tweak things, you'll have to continue asking things, you'll have to prime the AI with the right input and then get stuff out. This is where having sustained focus is very important. Now, critical thinking and problem solving, be it troubleshooting, be it any of the other things, the important bit to understand it, I call LLM models as non-deterministic systems because their outputs are not deterministic. You cannot have the same output every single time. There's going to be some difference. That non-deterministic nature generates a scenario where there are going to be random things that are happening. Like you should be able to figure out, is it because the system is non-deterministic, or is it because I made some error in my previous instructions, or the code itself has some fundamental flaws? But you'll only be able to answer these if you are spending time working on the systems. So coming back to our core questions that we started looking at, how do I survive in this era? How do I adapt AI safely? What cautions should I keep in mind? And do I still need to learn coding? How do I survive? Build your core skills. Like I've been saying, reading, typing, focus, troubleshooting, build these core skills. Stay adaptable. Today, you are reading about Linux. Tomorrow, you're reading about Windows. Next year, you're reading about Mac. You should not be having this fight. Is Linux better than Windows? Or is Mac better than X? Is Android better than iOS? Your focus should be Android has these, iOS has these. How does Android work? How does iOS work? Understand the internals. Be adaptable with technology. Technology is going to keep on changing. By the time you graduate, and this applies for fourth years, third years, second years, first years, by the time you graduate, what is right now the most powerful thing would be obsoleted by that time. It could take 2 months, it could take 10 months, it could take 2 years, but it is going to get obsoleted. And then something else would come up. If you're not able to adapt to these cycles, maybe InfoSec world might not be the best fit for you. Besides adapting to technology, having the capability to manage your finances and being able to navigate your career choices, that becomes important. You don't want a situation where you're stuck in a low paying, non performant, non exploratory job for a very long time because you are doing a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle where most of your income is actually spent in expenses and you don't have savings. If that becomes the case, you get stuck in a situation, you get stuck in a bottle, and that's bad for you, right? How do I adapt AI safely? One, I said it before, use it as a tool, not as a master. Cross check the output, don't trust it blindly. And I do a very fun exercise with this. I ask people who are with me to take a single topic, go and as a collective group, go into different AI systems that you love, interact with them, get outputs from them. Whatever output you've got, sit down, compare the outputs between all of you. You'll find differences, you'll find incorrect statements, you'll find wrong things. And that is important to understand that the output from AI is not fact checked. The output from AI is not based on the input. It is based on the inferences derived from the input. It's not the actual input. So you cannot be sure about the authenticity of that output, about the technical um, correctness of that output. Use AI for productivity. So the way I describe it is use AI tooling as an assistant that is available to type things for you. Things which are boring for you, which are repetitive for you, use AI to do it. But don't do judgment related stuff with it. So you want to read a book, you go to a book summary and you're like, okay, this is the book that I want to read. This is wrong approach. Why? A large number of times, these summarizers are going to give you an output which is a common generic output. The book reading is a capability which gives you different meanings. So it could be the same book, but it will give you different outcome in terms of learnings based on your past experience. Consider that it's an LLM model. Your brain is an LLM model, and you have 20, 30 years of data preloaded inside it. And based on that, it is interpreting whatever is there versus an LLM model, which is just relating based on whatever public data they were able to gather. So that's the difference. That's where we need to understand that AI cannot be used in scenarios where a judgment call has to be made. Learn to communicate with it. Prompt engineering is a concept that you'll see. There are lots of documentation around it. Go through them. Understand how to interact with AI systems. If you cannot interact with your AI systems, you are losing precious time. You're losing precious interaction hours of yours. What are the other cautions that you have to keep in mind? AI will hallucinate. It will give you output that will be all over the place. Verify things. Do not be so reliant on OpenAI or ChatGPT that if one of them is down, you can't do anything. So don't have over reliance. And in all of this, don't forget the fundamentals. You need to be aware of the fundamentals. If not, what I've seen a lot of people do with AI systems, and especially people from the IT world, they'll go and talk to a prompt and they'll give a prompt like, give me a clone of Netflix or give me a clone of YouTube. It'll create something, it'll look nice, which will probably function as similar to YouTube or Netflix. It will not be able to scale. It will not be able to handle the workload that comes at a YouTube level or at a Netflix level, because that's where the optimization is needed. And that is one thing that is not documented properly. This boils down to the fundamentals. If you don't have the right fundamentals, you will not be able to move forward. I'll give you some resources around this on how to build those fundamentals. Now, do you still need to learn coding? I would say yes. The world has moved towards infrastructure as code, towards policy as code, towards as a code manner. Most of the IT is as a code. If you do not know how to code, you will not be able to identify when AI has hallucinated and when AI has actually given you the right output. So you don't need to write code. Don't need to compete with AI for coding pieces. Leverage it. But you would have an idea what is good, what is bad. You will get a better understanding about business, tech, tools if you are able to do coding. Coding is where effectively you're understanding the logics, you're debugging, you're trying to catch AI's mistake. In short, I've concised that all in the last point. Become an engineer, not a code typing assistant. A large chunk of people right now are code typing assistant. They would go and figure out something and then type some code copied from somewhere. That's the the typing assistant. You don't want that. You want to be an engineer. You have a problem in mind you're trying to solve. The language, the code is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. That's something that you have to understand. Now, there are a bunch of resources that I've outlined. These are some things I would suggest all of you to note down. I will be sharing the slides, so you'll have this content with you. But just these couple of resources. The first two links, freestuff.dev, free for dev, are a bunch of different resources from IT world that are free for students and developers. Use these tools to understand how developers operate. Vulnhub, PondLab, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, hackers.org are places where you can get vulnerable machines or targets where you can play around with hacking skills. SAD server is a place where you get a server which is not functional or which is not able to function because there's some error in the system. You have to find the error, fix it, and then the SAT server would be happy. Uh, GitHub student pack. I'm hoping all of you are aware of this. If you're not, every year GitHub has this student pack capability, or rather, there's a link called education.github.com/pack, which actually gives you access to a whole set of resources if you are a student. PactPub has a offer going. I think they've been running this for years now. On this free learning page, they give you one ebook every single day, one new ebook per day. Free for devs, I think I've already covered that. Winter of Code, Summer of Code are two projects where you are paid to create code for open source software. So two things that you should definitely check. One of those things which actually differentiates you from a normal computer science student. If you're a Summer of Code participant, if you're a Winter of Code participant, you are different from any sane person would, any other computer science student, because you've not just learned in the college, you have deployed that in production. These are codes that go and get deployed in some public places. These are three books that I recommend. The Cuckoo's Egg is by Cliff Stoll. It's a very old book. I think 2005 or something is when the latest edition of this book came out. It talks about an approach on how to identify an attacker. And this was of an era when internet did not used to exist. So there was other systems of communication, and they were able to find attackers via that. Good read if you want to build that mindset. Phoenix Project gives you an idea about what and how the world operates in the DevOps world. And that's an important skill set for anyone who's trying to now get into security world. The Spirit of Science in Quest of Truth is a old book by R.V. Lal. This talks about the researcher mindset. This talks about the exploration of science and trying to figure out the truth. It's a very interesting read. It's a small book, very interesting read. There are a couple of online magazines that I recommend everyone to read. Freck, pagedout.institute are two heavily condensed, deep technical documents. Technology Radar by ThoughtWorks is something I ask all security student and IT students to read. So IT students read this, it gives you an idea about what is going on in corporate world. Security folks or people interested in security, read it. This gives you an idea, this gives you a glimpse of the future. In 6 months' time, these are the things you're going to face. These are the things that are going to come back to you. So these three as online magazines. Now, towards the end, I'd like to close out with some principles that I would suggest for you and some more closing remarks, and then we'll close the whole thing. Step one, learn to question everything. Anything that is happening around you, ask the question why. You may not have to ask this question to the person standing in front of you, but ask this question to yourself to try and figure out the answer to that question. Become an expert in one field, but you have to have that generalist breadth of idea about what is happening in the other fields. Explore, go out and learn about new things. It will only help you in longer runs. Information security domain is there to support businesses' need. It is not there to be the king of the hill. It is there to support the business need. So the business need comes first. This approach has to be kept in mind. You need to form a group of like-minded people, like the group that you are right now part of. You have to form a group of like-minded people. That's very important. At times, it would also mean forming a group of like-minded people of your age. So keep that in perspective. You need to secure your own systems first. If you're trying to do any sort of exploration, let's say malware analysis also, you need to be able to save your own systems first. If something goes wrong, how do you ensure your system is safe, how your network is safe? Focus on that first. I do not call myself hacker. No one in the right mind call themselves a hacker. It's not a title you give to yourself. Avoid calling yourself a hacker. If you do self-proclamation that I am the best in the world and I can do this or I can do that, you have no idea how many other people exist who have far more skill set than you have, and they're just not saying anything. But you lose respect if you try to claim that you know more than you know, or whatever you know, because there are a large chunk of things that you don't know that you don't know. That unknown is too big for everyone. Instead, your work should speak louder than your words. Whatever you're doing, your work should say, hey, this person knows their stuff. And that's it. You don't need to say it. If the world recognizes you that you know your stuff, that's all you need. You don't need to put that out saying, hey, I am telling you that I know this stuff. Right? At the last point, I would say understand that hacking is a mindset. It's not a job title. And the job titles rarely make any difference. And this actually brings me to a very funny scenario that I face every single time. If you go to a bank, every single employee that is sitting there, if they were graduates and they came in via the graduation program on the bank, all of them are assistant managers. They all have the title of assistant manager. If you go to a big consulting firm, assistant vice president is a very common title. You will find a company may have 2,500 assistant vice presidents. Titles don't matter. Your skill set would define what you are, not your title. AI right now is the new uh, thing that is there. If it fades out, something else would come up as a new thing. Focus on that piece. New things. Whatever new things come, you should be able to adapt to it. So your core skills, your adaptability, and your curiosity, this defines your growth. Right? Before I go to the last slide, I just wanted to quickly share one resource which I forgot to add in. Uh, this is a site that I've created called Hacking Archives of India. On this site, you will find list of about 1,097 individuals. There are about 1,729 entries in there. Now, what you see here is different people who are going out and talking in different places. It does not mean that they are the best or they are the only people in the world, but this is a demonstrable and referenceable list of things which people have done. So you can go into a profile, you can see what they've talked about, you can go into a specific talk, you can see the slides, you can see the talks. This is where you can get more inputs about whatever world where you are, whatever interesting things you want to work on. And that brings us to the last slide. That's my email address, a bunch of links that I gave. All of them are available on the link that I've given below. Thanks for listening. And I think there was some chat going on, so let me quickly check that. If there's any question, I can answer that now. All right. So there were a couple of questions. Let me try and address those one by one. So Pew Pew mentioned about focus on being really good at whatever you do. Money will be a byproduct of it. Totally agreed with that. This is kind of what I tell to people. And you would have seen that I talked about money in the start, but I never talked about money in terms of this would make you more money. I was talking about skills, I was talking about career progressions, but not in terms of money. The core focus was skills. You need to be able to do things better than everyone else. That's one of the core things. Yes, Pew Pew, the next comment of yours was, I think, in reference to be an engineer and not be a code assistant. And that's the important bit to understand. It's not just that you are able to create an algorithm. I'll give you an example, a very fun example. I created a page very recently called, and a tooling called 3P Tracer. It's a third-party tracer. What it does is you give it a domain name, it goes and finds all the subdomains that are associated with that domain, and it brings all of them and displays you in a nice web page. Now, this is something that a lot of people have been doing. But now, if I tell you that this program operates without requiring any backend component, any server-side component, it is simply a code that is written in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. You don't even need a backend. You can just double-click on index.html page, and it'll do all of this for you. Here, the core of it was that I figured out you can leverage DNS over HTTPS as a key component for fetching DNS records, which was the core hurdle of moving anything on a web-based environment compared to a command line environment. Because for DNS, everyone was using command line DNS tooling for their work or making port 53 system calls. So this is what you as an individual can provide to an AI. No one had written a tool of this nature. So I wrote it, made it available, and then I still have to explain to people, okay, how is this working? But that core idea, AI is not going to help you there. You are going to be the one who can actually give that input to AI, and then AI can actually do the code assistant work, build the whole fancy stuff around it. Hope that gives you the answer. I see Ronak, you have your hands raised. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I was asking your thoughts on AGI, sir. Like the thing that is these all the billionaires are like predicting, like mine or like machine, like same as intelligent as a human as we are. So like अभी जो है हमारे पास it's an LLM, a simple concept, new concept technology, which is based on the algorithm of token prediction of data sets. Simple. I haven't studied it, but yeah, as far as I understand. So, like, what is the future and the AGI thing? वो जो होगी if that comes, so वो will it be different from what the LLM thing we have, or will it be the same, just an upgraded version, or what?
Uh,
Like that.
you have to understand part one, how is LLM operating? When you look at how LLM is operating, it is basically creating a big mesh of interconnected objects. And then based on those objects, it is able to predict things. We are requiring large amounts of GPU resources, large amount of memory footprint, because LLM is not able to scale a lot. We're talking about SLM models now, which is a small language model, which is very focused around one task at a time. So what you see right now as prediction algorithms in your mobile phones, giving you the next word when you're typing things, all that is now being done by SLM models running on your mobile phone itself. So LLM SLM technology has its own limitations. It will go on at certain level. I have posted a link called AI is Normal Technology. This is a interesting, fascinating article that you should read. This talks about how AI would soon move away from the public sphere as a technology on its own, and it will become part of normal technology, which is everywhere. Just like we don't talk about computer innovations, we talk about things inside computers. We are not fascinated now if more smaller nanometer microprocessors are being made. That's not the fascination people have now. In a similar manner, AI would kind of fade away. Now, when it comes to AGI, you have to understand even the top people in the LLM sphere have kind of now started hinting towards, hey, um, you cannot have one as an expert. You will have to have bunch of different models doing specific things in good manner, and then all of them combined together can actually do some things. The agent concept came up. Everyone is trying to go to a level where uh, artificial intelligence could be in a generalistic manner. I cannot be a future predictor here because I don't know when it'll be there. But you have to understand that every single technology has its own limitations. There is a limitation right now that we're facing, which is around LLMs in terms of hallucinations. Actually, they're not hallucinations, in my opinion. It's the way it operates. So until and unless that fundamentally changes, you cannot move towards the AGI side of equation. And the way I look at all of this is, we're still trying to compete with our own brain. Our brain still functions far more than how an AI system works. You can see AI generating more text, more stuff than our brain, but you also have to understand while my brain is thinking, like for example, right now I'm answering your question. I'm thinking on the fly. While I'm doing that, I'm also breathing. I'm also sitting against gravity. I'm moving my hands. I'm doing a whole bunch of things. All of that is where parts of my brain are involved. So the complexity that the brain deals with is far more complex right now. Reaching to that point at that level of efficiency is going to take some time and is not going to be a cake walk in the park. I hope that gives you a perspective.
Yes, I got it. Uh,
Yeah, Rahul.
I would like uh, I would like to add that thing, sir. I also heard about something that a thing that is limitation of this is like our brain is built that I can also remember like 10 years ago a memory with my family or something like that. That is how my brain is built, but this is not the thing with that the LLM that
The
we have now.
context length is a problem. The RAG was built to deal with context length issues, not been too successful. There has been good success in terms of short term things, but context length is still a problem, which is one of the core problems with LLM.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rahul. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I actually did a full article on this. Let me put out that link. Hmm, just a sec. So there are two things. So this article actually talks to two different set of people. It's talking to the practitioner or a person who's attending the interview, and more importantly, to the interviewers. How do you gauge people? So this would give you some ideas. But what I generally look for, what I'm when I'm looking at anyone, I ask them some questions. So a standard process of mine is ask them to describe their own capabilities except what is written in the resume. Can they actually explain themselves? Can they actually explain their own skill set? Why I'm looking for that? If you're not able to articulate your answers on the fly, you won't be in a position to be able to converse fluently with people. Now, in my field, subsection of information security, I generally deal with consulting space. In consulting, you do not have prep time. You need to be able to answer questions because you're going to be put on spot. Every single damn call with client is where you're going to be put on spot. The client would come up with their own ideas of questions, and you would have no idea what those questions are. You will have some idea of what the work you have done, and they would come up with questions. If you're not able to piece things together, if you're not able to understand things and relate in a manner in which they want it to be communicated, you are not a good fit for me. That's part one. Part two, I would ask them to describe something that they have done which they're very proud of. Once they've done that, I would ask questions related to that. My aim is not to fail a person in an interview. My aim is to identify the best resources that they have, best capability that they have, and then see if they're usable for me. Sometimes you may be the best person in the whole bunch, but the skill sets that you have are not the skill sets that I'm looking for. I won't be able to hire you. It'll be as simple as that. You may be the best coder in the world. You may be able to outperform every single person that I have in my team by a factor of, say, 200%. If what I'm looking for is a QA, your coding skills may not translate directly. I will ask questions. I will try to gauge if I can use you in that space. But if I cannot, I am not going to waste your time by hiring you into that role and creating a discontent on both sides. For InfoSec specifically, this stuff that I've putting on screen right now, a trap question. This is something that I love to ask. I would ask something ridiculous. You have to understand that it is ridiculous because you have never heard about it, or is it ridiculous because it does not exist? I want to see how your brain functions. I would ask you to describe what is going on in your brain because you would not be able to answer it immediately. I would ask you to tell me the steps. If your steps are in the logical order, that's good enough for me. If you keep circling around the bush and try to give me answers like, hey, you know what, this happens, that happens, and you try the same approach that you've tried with your college invigilators in your external exams, where you say something and they're like, okay, "Ah, kuch to bol raha hai," I will give them some marks. If you try that approach, I would not want you, because I am more than happy with someone who says, sorry, I don't know the answer, but give me 24 hours, I'll come back with an answer, rather than someone spending 20 minutes just BS around the system. I don't want that. So that's kind of what I am looking for in the environment, in the person. My role is to get people hired. And I will do that by finding the right talent which matches with the skill set that I'm looking for. It is not going to be the same process everywhere. And I'll tell you the reason why. You will not find this process with big companies like, for example, Infosys, Satyam, Wipro. People demean that hey, they hire people in bulk and they don't let us explore things. You have to understand what each of these companies is doing. All of these companies who are dependent on offshoring of projects, they are not having a fixed technology stack. They're not looking for the best Java resource. At a fresher level, they're looking for a person who can be trained in the skill set that they need. They may need a Java resource, they may need an SQL resource, they may need HTTP CSS resource. You don't know. When you join in and when you are getting trained, at that time, they would have some idea, hey, in 3 months' time, I need people in this project. Let's train these people into that project. Now, this basically means they don't need people who are pre-trained, who have fixed mindset about this is what I'm going to do. I am a Java developer. I'm only going to do Java. You are not a good fit for that company, because the company is looking for adaptable people. The company is looking for people who could basically be trained into other things, who do not have a fixed path in mind. Now, if you go into that company with your fixed skill set and then you have a sort of uh, confrontation with the organization, that's bad on both sides. They should not have hired you when you had fixed skills. You should not have went in because they're not going to give you the growth space. But at times, it is what it is. That's the only option that you have, and your family is very clear. You join or we disown you. It may happen. So at times, those interviews are going to be different. There may be scenarios where the interviewer is not mature enough to understand what interviewing actually is all about. And at that time, you have to make a decision call. Do you really want to work in a company which has these kind of people who are interviewing you, which effectively means they may actually be your boss at some point? Do you want to work in that company? And you cannot make that decision call if you do not have financial freedom at your end, if you do not have the confidence in yourself that, hey, irrespective, if I say no to this job, I can get other jobs. So building that confidence matters. That confidence comes with all the things that we were talking about today. I hope that gives you an answer, Rahul. Yep. Okay. 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 Look at it this way: there are going to be all sorts of people in the world around you. Everyone has their opinions. Like I used this sentence, everyone is unique just like yourself. The entire world is filled with unique individuals, and everyone is unique. At the same time, everyone is the same. So people will have their own ideas, people will have their own opinions about things. You have to decide which path you want to take. If you want to take a path of sharing things with others, share. Don't worry about whether the other person is sharing or not. Your path that you have taken is to share from your end. And this is a philosophical take on things. You cannot force someone else to do something. You can guide them, you can give them pointers. It's up to them to do whatever they want to do. So if you took a path that I am going to share my knowledge with others, you do that, and just do that. Don't worry if the others are sharing stuff back or not. It's not your problem. It's not your, um, say, space to be worried about. They may be holding it. They may become the world's expert in that. They may keep holding to that, and that's okay. That's their approach. If you want that approach, you can apply that approach. But if you don't want that approach, if you want to share things, you share, but you don't worry about what others are doing. Otherwise, you will keep worrying about what others are doing, and you would not have time to focus on what you want to do. Does that gives you a perspective? I hope people got something good out of it. Rahul, what I'm going to do is I will share the whole presentation in a PDF file to you in next few minutes. And you can share it with everyone. And if there's any questions, any doubts, feel free to connect with me over email or find me on LinkedIn or other places. And you get, if you have any questions, ask. Just keep one thing in mind. If you send me a message, if you send me an email, if I don't respond within 5 days, give me a reminder. Mostly, I would be good at those places, emails and LinkedIn's. But if you figure out my WhatsApp ID, you send me a WhatsApp message, I may never respond back. Just so it is clear, right? Yeah. So what you need to read is, or what she needs to read is this blog that I wrote. What LLM
It's a
teaches me about
hallucination.
my own brain. It's not hallucination. See, that's the first thing that I'm uh, sort of averse of. There's no hallucination happening. That's the way LLM operates. Hallucination is a feeling that we are imparting on it. What LLM is doing is it is giving you output which seems meaningful at that place. The meaning to it, the whole idea of feelings and emotions to it, is something that your brain is doing to that text. LLM has no idea if it has said, hey, I can understand your feelings, or I am happy for you. That's the standard response that it has found in most places. So it is giving back that to you. It does not have feelings of its own. The feelings on that text is something we impart. Just like, for example, when you read an email from two different people and they've said the same thing, I'm happy for you. But if you have good terms with that person, that happy for you brings a smile on your face. But if you have bad terms with that person and you have a rivalry with that person, you will read that as a smirk on the face of that person, and the other person trying to demean you. So the meaning to those words, the values to those words are imparted by us, not by the system. And that's the whole key. So what we find as a good response, as something that we're getting from the LLM and it understands us. It is not. It is basically how a conversation should be. The only difference is if you talk to a human in that manner, in that approach, the human would respond back after a point with anger, with frustration, with judgment. And that is because they are listening to your words, putting feelings over it, using their own words to convey whatever they are trying to convey. And then you are trying to read whatever you want to read from it. So there's this old saying uh, which goes something like, I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. So we behave in front of others the way we feel that they might be interpreting my behavior. We do not behave the way we want to behave. We do not behave the way they feel we are behaving. The value that we apply to it is something that our brain is doing. So that's the thing that you have to understand, and that's the crucial element in terms of whenever we are talking about LLMs being able to understand us better. This is what is happening. So if it helps you, keep doing it. If it does not, then don't worry about that. Hey, this is going to be a problem. That's why ask them to experiment. They will realize very soon the limitations. Don't So ask them for the system to be, so start putting keywords. Ask them to ask the same question in different chat windows, maybe make a spelling mistake in their word, and see how the system is giving different outputs. Once they realize, once they confront to that point that this is not a system that actually understands what I'm trying to say, but rather based on my input, it is giving me an output, it helps. Uh, there's an old book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which has a very funny thing. You folks might have seen this, the ultimate answer to life, universe, and everything. And all the systems actually give you an answer as 42. This is a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But what most of these systems don't actually talk about it is, it was actually a garbage in, garbage out, because of the way that whole system was designed. So in that book, there was a system, or there was a planet which was actually a computer. It was feeded all the inputs, and it was supposed to run for multiple millions of years, come back with an ultimate answer to life, universe, and everything. But what happens is, one of these people, or rather all these people, are still traveling interstellar, and they're going back and forth in time and messing around with everything. So the input that was provided to the machine kept getting corrupted. So at the end of all of it, when the machine gives an answer, the answer is a number 42. But the answer is not right because the input was never right. So garbage in would generate garbage out. What we have as a system is, which does a bit of filtering and gives us some output. Ask them to tweak the inputs, see how the output differs, and that would open up their idea about, hey, this is not giving me the right suggestions, this is giving me what I want to hear. And that difference does things. So for example, one thing that I generally do with AI systems, with LLM systems, ask them to ask the AI to give them some suggestions, and then in the next chat, put that same text and then say, become a devil's advocate and give me your thoughts. The moment they add devil advocate as two keywords in the system, the answer inverts altogether. It will start contradicting whatever it said earlier. And that would open the eyes, hopefully. Cool. I think we overshot time by about half an hour. Yeah, that's That's something I realized around 8 p.m. mark, and I was like, okay, this is not happening, so it's all fine.
Sir, I want to ask you, what was that book you were recommending by someone, Monica? What was the name?
Monica
Monica.
Halan. It's called Let's Talk Money.
Let's talk. Okay.
That's the book. All right. I'm going to stop sharing. If there is no more questions, I would take leave.